David, the state rested its case today against a man accused of starting a deadly fire in Door County 2 years ago.
2 people died, that bar destroyed. Now the defense for the man accused of the crime will continue calling its witnesses to the stand tomorrow. Anthony Gonzalez is facing 7 charges, including 2 counts of second-degree reckless homicide for the deaths of 67-year-old Gary Heisey and 54-year-old Victor Juris. Brittany Schmidt is covering the state's final witness today. She joins us in the newsroom with the latest First Alert update. Brittany.
Kimmy and Bill, the prosecution rounded out its testimony today with the 2 state fire experts tasked with figuring out the origin and cause of the fire. Even though Gonzalez is on video telling investigators he accidentally started the fire, investigators still have to independently verify those statements through testimony and evidence. The lead investigator, Special Agent Eric Biney, determined the origin of the fire was inside Gonzalez's room, but he classified the cause as undetermined. He says the immense fire damage and lack of evidence able to be collected inside the building due to structural and safety concerns limited the investigation. The defense asked Special Agent Biney if he has investigated fires caused by careless use of smoking materials. He says he has, but this isn't one of those cases. Here's why.
The careless use of smoking materials is someone that has discarded a cigarette improperly, or maybe they've fallen asleep with a cigarette while in bed. There's situations where people have thrown cigarettes into planters and have caused a fire. That is not this situation. In this situation, we have the the spilling of fuel and the intentional ignition of an ignition source being the later.
The defense will continue calling its witnesses to the stand to testify tomorrow. The trial is expected to go into next week. If convicted, Gonzalez could spend the rest of his life behind bars. Cammie, Bill.